Human Nature, a journey in search of a peaceful and prosperous society with human nature as a guide. Led by your host, Adam Heyman.
Hello. Welcome to Heyman Nature. My name is Adam Heyman, and with me is the Unabomber, apparently. How you doing? You look like you're all geared up for battle there, my friend.
I'm all in, and I've got the nuts.
Yep, 2 cents 7. Did you ever actually play a live version of that game where you had to pay the bonus for winning a hand with deuce 7?
No.
I used to play that game, I guess, in High Limit, and you'd see it on the television shows that were in like the 2000s, High Limit Poker and Poker After Dark, the deuce 7 game. Anyway,
Okay.
the reason Tyrone here, the Porcupine Hobo, is dressed like an idiot is that we're going to talk about poker on this show. This show is not about poker. It's called Human Nature. We like to talk about human nature. But I did play for an awful lot of years, and I'm pretty good at that there game. And also, if you go to heymannature.com, which redirects to heymannature.substack.com, you will notice that I'm selling poker coaching services for a fee. Go to that site there and take a look. And if you find that you think I might have some insights to this game, which I do, you might find it lucrative to pick my brain. The details are there on that website, heymannature.com. But perhaps because of that, and perhaps because of the article that I wrote about balance in the game of poker, I think you got a bit of the poker bug there, Tyrone. Also, the World Series just ended recently in Vegas. And I think you've got a trip planned very shortly to Vegas. So poker's on your mind, yes?
Yeah, so I'm a poker enthusiast. I'm by no means at your level or an expert, but like everybody else, when the whole poker craze happened in the early 2000s, the Chris Moneymaker thing, the movie Rounders, all that stuff, and right around that time, brand new casino opened near me, poker for the first time in where I live. And everybody was doing it, right? So like everybody else at that time, I got super into it. I read all the books, I tried to learn the strategy. So I'm by no means a novice. I played in tons of tournaments. I played in tons of cash games, but I was just never really that good at it. But I love it. So I do have a deep knowledge of it. So whenever the World Series of Poker comes around, I always pay a little bit of attention to that. I still enjoy watching some of that on TV. But yeah, since it just happened and you are quite the accomplished poker player, and you've just decided to start, providing coaching services for people who are interested in poker, I thought, perfect time. Let's talk about poker. So, and you had done some newsletter articles. Actually, you want to touch base on that one you did about the balance?
Yeah, we could do that for a little minute. Before I do, though, I should just talk about the differences. When you got into the poker, the movie was out, and you read some books and learned how to play. When I started in, might have been 1990, 91, something like that, I was getting pretty good at my local casino in Phoenix, and after I'd been beating the game for a while, some guy saddled up to me and wanted to pick my brain a little bit. And I mentioned that I'd read a poker book, and he literally didn't believe me.
Oh,
that's how great the scene was back then.
Yeah,
nobody knew the information was there. So the games were pretty easy back then.
So that was going to be my question. So you think they were easier back then? I would almost think they'd be tougher because the only people playing poker would be like people actually knew something about it.
Oh,
when I got into it,
summer child. No.
Because when I got about it, everybody thought they could be Matt Damon, right?
No.
So
back in the day,
the carders were just flooded with idiots.
No. Back in the day, there weren't nearly as many card rooms.
Sure.
Because the poker explosion hadn't happened in, I think it was 2003 when ESPN finally covered it. And that very, very goofy accountant, Chris Moneymaker, managed to win through.
What a name.
Yeah, and the way he won, oh my God, he played so bad. it was so great for the game, or for the people who spread the game and made money on the game. But no, poker was way better before that. There were, 20x less games, maybe even more. But the ones that were there, in a room with 100 people in it, maybe a handful sort of knew what they were doing.
Sure.
Everyone else was like, it was a game of recreation, a game of luck. If you tried to, you could have polled half the people in the first card room I walked into and asked them, a polling question, was poker a game of luck or a game of skill? Over half would have said a game of luck, because who knows what card's going to come off the deck, can't control that. And the amount of knowledge just wasn't there at all. And it was more fun too. Just a bunch of businessmen screwing around, and a few young hustlers like me. But
guys who just played penny ante at their kitchen table, go to Vegas or Phoenix or wherever, like, oh, I'll play some poker, right? So if you knew anything about anything, you could take big advantage, is what you're saying.
I mean, kinda. I mean, they were just screwing around, but screwing around for decent stakes. It wasn't penny ante kitchen table poker. They were playing 20, 47 card stud, and it was just kind of great.
Okay.
And
so going back to your article about balance, what were you trying to get? What was the point of that?
Yeah, if you go to haymannature.substack.com, you'll find it. It's called What Can Games of All Kinds, and poker in particular, teach us about balance? And I was just struck. I don't know why I was thinking about this, but in almost every game that we humans play that's worth a damn, there's this really delicate balance that you've got to find between offense and defense. If you sell out, for one and ignore the other, you're just going to fail. Like, in football, if you just always air it out and never punt, that's a flawed strategy. And similarly, if you, just run it up the middle every single time, or 3 downs, and then punt, super defensive, it's also a flawed strategy. Boxing, the same thing. You throw a bunch of haymakers, all offense, you got no defense, you're going to get caught easily. And if you just huddle up and rope-a-dope, Ali made it work that one time, but in general, that's a flawed strategy. And poker's the same way. If you're just blasting away, playing every hand, trying to, constantly swing for the fences, so to speak, it's an exploitable strategy. And similarly, just knitting it up and being afraid to put a chip in because you don't want to put it at risk is super defensive. And if you're in a tournament, maybe there's some particular points where that might be appropriate. But in general, it's a huge losing strategy. So I just wanted to write about that a little bit because I think it's just interesting. You've got to be able to find balance in almost every game. Oh, and the point I was ending on is that in general, for all games, and poker especially, you want to learn how to play sort of an optimal balance of offensive defense. And then hopefully you're going to get yourself, and this is almost every single time, you'll be able to find yourself in a situation against a certain opponent where you want to deviate from that strategy because they're making mistakes. So you don't want to play a game theory optimal style. You want to deviate from that and exploit their weaknesses. So it's this funny situation where you have to train and study to find optimal balance and then look for situations where you never use that.
Game theory optimal. GTO, baby.
GTO, baby.
So what we're about to get into with the World Series of Poker story that we're going to cover as part of this episode. I did not know what GTO was, but
it's a car, right?
That's what the whole, that's what I thought. I was like, but that's what this whole controversy is about that happened in this year's World Series of Poker. I'm like, what is GTO? I had to look that up. I had never heard of that before. Game theory optimal, and that doesn't even make any sense. Game theory optimal.
Well, the story
that doesn't sound right.
It's like story we're going to talk about
adjective in the wrong place or something. I don't know.
The story we're going to talk about is actually more about another 3-letter acronym, RTA,
real-time assistant.
Yeah. And
I had
for analysis.
Yeah.
Apparently in this 2024 World Series, there was an enormous controversy at the final table of the main event.
Yeah, but let me before we get to that, so real quick, I just want to go back to your article because you weren't just talking about balance in poker, right? We talk a lot about philosophy on this show. We talk a lot about political philosophy on this show. And I think sometimes we get branded as these extremists, right? We're extremists, anarcho-capitalists, libertarians, maximum freedom, this and that. But really, like we want freedom to lead a balanced life. Because if you think about the old Soviet Union or North Korea today, they're not they're not leading a balanced life, right? They're constantly in scavenger mode or fight for your life mode, right? And that doesn't produce happiness. So I think the way to succeed in poker and in life, you have to lead a balanced life or a balanced strategy, but the key to success is knowing when to make the moves.
That's exactly the point. The metaphor we use in poker, I think it came from poker, is you've got to have all the gears. Whatever the strategy is required for the situation you're in, you got to have that gear in your toolbox and be able to deploy it. And then on the liberty front, it's unfortunate that so many who are identified with our movement come off, and maybe it's because it's true, they come off as libertines. They don't want the state to interfere with your right to do all these sorts of things, which may be bad for you. And then they celebrate these activities like the point of freedom is to just make god-awful choices just because you have the freedom to do that. And that's goofy. That's a horrible way to live your life. The point of liberty is that it is illegitimate for anybody else to stop you from making these errors. Not that these errors are great to make, doing drugs all day long and all the other sorts of sinful behaviors that I don't think ought to be prohibited by the state, doesn't mean we should celebrate them. That would be crazy.
Right. For libertarians, we always delineate the difference between moral versus legal.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think a lot of people confuse the two and we can go into this another time. It's not that legality is completely devoid of morality, but it's the libertarian viewpoint is minimal laws for maximum freedom, but that doesn't really tell you how you should live your life at all. It's completely up to you how you want to live your life. And then the question is, okay, now that I have the ability to live a life that I want to lead in a way I want to lead it, well, what's the best path for me? And each person has to make their own decision about that. But for me, I think years of experience, just life lessons learned, having a balanced approach in life is going to, in the long run, lead you to more happiness. But again, you need to know, just like investing in the stock market, you need to know when to put your money in and when to take your money out, right? In the stock market. Same with poker. Same with life.
Well, there's a reason people, they sort of reject liberty and they reject the responsibility that necessarily comes with it. And so they don't want necessarily the chore of trying to figure out what the right balance in life. One of the pernicious evils of having the state expand its size and scope and influence is that it comes to touch every decision a person makes, to the point where it's almost, I mean, this is a caricature, but it approaches the point where everything that is not prohibited is mandated. That is a horrible situation for an individual to be in. It shrinks his ability to make decisions about finding the right balance in life, because, hey, that's the state's job, right? They're setting the rules and laying out the parameters. So as the state's influence grows, the ability of the human to fully express themselves and make these important life decisions shrinks. And that's one of the most important reasons that we have to reject that.
I also think that even if the state was benevolent and all-knowing and all-wise, and it said, hey, we figured it out, guys, we know the secret to happiness and success, here's what you're gonna do. Adam, you're gonna go work at a factory Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Tyrone, you're gonna go do this. You're gonna go climb a mountain on the 15th of this month. You guys are gonna eat this for dinner. Like, even if they were able to figure out the precise exact formula and actions that a person should take, at the end of the day, instead of being happy, I think that we would all be miserable. And I think there's something about human nature that in order for us to have happiness, one, we need a lot of factors, but a couple of them are we need the ability to succeed on our own by making our own decisions. There's just something built into our human nature that makes that a requirement.
I'd like to channel the wisdom of three geniuses to buttress your point there, Tyrone. One is Friedrich Hayek, and the other is Ludwig von Mises, and the third, of course, is Agent Smith. The first two show that there is no way, no matter how much knowledge was gathered, and nor how benevolent the omniscient state was, they couldn't figure out what the right thing for every human would be. They can't make that calculation. They don't have the knowledge, and they can't make the calculation without prices. Two separate knowledge arguments. And then, of course, Agent Smith, I think he was right when he was taunting Morpheus. They lack the knowledge to describe the human's ultimate world. And so our primitive brains kept rejecting the code. And I think that's because if somebody tried to deliver us utopia from on high and force it upon us, I think he's right. I think we would rebel. I think we'd buck the yoke. I think there's something about humans that wants to go their own way and make their own choices and live by the fruits or the deleterious effects of those choices. I think that's essential to our nature.
It just occurred to me that that's the exact story of Adam and Eve in a way.
Kind of, yeah.
You know, if you want to consider that to be a mythology or whatever, but it's like here they had paradise and they weren't happy.
Yeah, I don't really have any way to support this notion of mine. I don't believe the literal story of the Genesis, but
it's a metaphor. It's ancient wisdom.
I think that story, if it connotes anything real, I sort of think it connotes the moment that we, maybe our prefrontal cortex developed to the point where we started thinking about these things. And we ate from the tree of knowledge, and we discovered that we were naked. And I think, I think at some point during our evolution, if that's how it happened, we changed from being an instinctual thing to a thinking thing. And I think that story, I think if that means something real, I think it means something about that from the moment we gained enough consciousness to start thinking.
Right. That's awesome. That's beautiful. And I
think
there's truth to that.
Maybe in the Stanley Kubrick documentary 2001, maybe that was the moment that the the artifact, the obelisk, showed up.
How? Oh, the obelisk. Yeah.
We start throwing around those monkey bones, and
what a great opening scene. I mean, just
ever
to this day, top 10. Well, I am enough about this, Adam. Enough about this. I didn't come here to talk philosophy. I'm going to Vegas in a couple of days. I am ready to do some gambling. I got poker on the mind. World Series just ended. I want to pick your brain because you are the poker expert. You are probably the number one poker playing libertarian in the world.
Even that's probably not true. All right. Let's save.
What a moniker. What a title.
Let's save all things poker for the next episode. But for this one, there was a particular event that happened at the World Series that you wanted to talk about. So you want to set this up for us?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, the World Series of Poker, as kind of mentioned, had a huge explosion in the early 2000s. Movie Rounders, that Chris Moneymaker guy, just an amateur off the street, and nobody wins the whole thing. It's televised on ESPN for not the first time, but kind of like the first time it was like really mass in prime time or whatever you want to say. And it set the whole world on fire for many years ago. So the records were crazy. As I recall, following the Chris Moneymaker, I don't think it was when Greg Raymer won, but it was certainly close to that the first place prize got up to $10 million. And then the whole online thing happened, and then it all fell apart kind of. There was big scandals of cheating with those online sites, and then what they call Black Monday happened, where on an April 15th, I think it was 2011, of course, tax day, the government threw down the hammer, seized a bunch of accounts, basically shut down all these poker websites. And following that, poker still remained popular, but but it really kind of died off. The World Series of Poker took a dip in participation, and it seemed like it may not ever recover back to those glory days. Well, lo and behold, 2024. Guess what? This is from the website WSOP.com, the official World Series of Poker website. World Series of Poker main event sets attendance record for second consecutive year. So last year was a record. This year was a record. So it seems like poker is getting back. This story is from July 8th. The World Series of Poker just concluded a couple weeks ago, towards the end of July. The opening sentence, or the opening part to this article is: poker's richest tournament will see its champion take home a $10 million first place prize and pay out 1,517 players from a whopping $94 million total prize pool. Crazy. And that's just the main event. Overall, the World Series of Poker had an all-time attendance. If people don't know, the World Series of Poker is not just one event. Everybody sees the one that's on TV with the big prize, but it's called a World Series because it's a series of events. There's like 30, 40 different events. It goes on for 2 different months, culminating with the big, what they call the quote-unquote main event. Anyway, this year, the attendance for the entire World Series of Poker, this is the 55th year it's been held, was 10,112 entrants. So it's crazy. It seems like poker is now getting, again, more popular than ever. So that's pretty exciting news. And then every year, the winner or winners of any event that's in the World Series of Poker get a bracelet. So similar to a Super Bowl ring or something like that, where champions get these rings, and they're usually very gaudy and diamond encrusted and whatever. So they're not like the most beautiful jewelry to wear ever. But this year's World Series main event bracelet, exceeded all of those previous iterations. Like back in the 90s and early 2000s, the bracelet was just like a thin little bracelet. Now it's this thing. It's and this picture doesn't do it justice. Like it's the size of a buckle belt. I mean, it's like those cowboy buckle belts that are huge, like not just almost like a WWE size thing. It's gigantic. I mean, just look how gaudy that thing is. But you know what? If I won it, I would wear it every day of my life.
Yeah, I was just about to say, you sounded like the fox for whom the grapes were just a little bit out of reach, and so they must be sour.
Yeah, well, for sure. Anyway, Adam, you got any of those bracelets sitting around in your closet?
I do not. I decided to focus on cash games at a critical point when the decision was to be made in the mid-90s, late 90s. I didn't see the online poker boom coming, and I didn't see those, Full Tilt and there's so many. Poker Stars,
Yeah.
Paradise Poker before that, Party Poker. I didn't see all those people, paying the early winners, and all those, they pay them like $25, $35 an hour to play online on their sites, and then they would give them a full ride, pay all their entry fees and all the tournaments, as long as they wear the patch on. Anyway, I didn't see all that coming, and I just thought they were financial and personal advantages to playing cash rather than tournaments. So no, I didn't really play that many of them. But that said, I have played several times in the World Series.
In the World Series, you have?
Mostly in mixed type games, stud and Omaha and draw poker, stuff like that. But no, I've never won a.
Yeah, let me just read a little bit about this bracelet. So the title, again, from WSOP.com of this article says, World Series of Poker founding father Jack Binion debuts 2024 WSOP main event bracelet. Now, I think it's funny that they call Jack Binion founding father. It was actually his father who started the World Series of Poker. Jack is the son who kind of inherited it. But yeah, sure, I'll call him the father. I suppose his father, you call him the grandfather, the godfather of the World Series of Poker. So that makes sense. But it kind of says here, Poker Hall of Famer unveils the richest trophy in sports and delivers a ceremonial shuffle up and deal to kick off the final flight of the 2024 WSOP Main Event. Considered the richest trophy in sports, the 2024 WSOP Main Event bracelet was custom made by Jostens from approximately 445 grams of 10-karat yellow gold with 2,253 various precious gemstones, including 1,948 round genuine diamonds, 230 black onyx stones, and 75 genuine red rubies to accentuate the suits. Special to this year's design is a removable golden faceplate in the center of the bracelet that serves as a card protector.
As a card protector. Oh my Lord. That's awful.
How
Well,
awesome. How awful.
This is
so awesome.
This is terrible in so many ways. Not the least of which is the fact that you heard the company that makes it, right?
Well, yeah, it's the high school.
It's the high school ring. That crappy con job. Oh, you better have this. People are going to respect you for your high school ring.
Yeah. Later in the article, it says, "Do not get it wet." No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I wanted to share this video, Adam, and get your opinion on it as both sort of a professional card player and also from the perspective of a casual and enthusiast, such as myself. So the video we've got here that I want to watch and get your reaction to is from Doug Polk Poker. He's a professional poker player, well respected in the community, has his own YouTube channel. And let's watch a few minutes of his video and see what this latest controversy is all about.
Allegations have rocked the 2024 World Series of Poker Main Event final table, with many people calling into question the legitimacy of the Ultimate Champion's victory. Just a few days ago, Jonathan Tamayo took down the World Series of Poker Main Event, the largest one that we've ever had. During the final table, Tamayo had a rail, a group of people behind him that had equipment up to solve for stuff or look up ranges or come up with strategies or whatever it might be. And this was being fed to Tamayo in between hands.
All right, Adam. So there you go. 2024 World Series of Poker controversy. Let's hear from the libertarian poker maestro himself. What do you think, man? What's your opinion here? Did Tamayo cheat?
Well, I think three things. First, I am not the libertarian maestro thing you said. That's terrible.
I'll come up with a better title for it.
The second thing is I am not a professional anything. I want that made perfectly clear. And the third thing is, yeah, I think it's atrocious what he did. Answering the question, did he cheat or not, requires a parsing of whatever the stupid rules were.
Sure.
And I'm not even interested in whether or not, I mean, he was allowed to do it by the establishment who clearly saw what was happening. So no, I don't think he should have to return the money or anything. But I do think every single thing about this aspect of the game is terrible and it should be abolished immediately. I don't think I think we should make poker tennis again, or at least tennis the way it was a couple of years ago. I don't think the players should be able to talk to a coach at all during the game. I mean, like maybe in the bath, during the break or something. You can't really police that. But I am not a fan of these huge cheering galleries. I definitely don't want them armed with laptops and poker analyzing software. I hate everything about it. I don't think the players should be allowed anything electronic at the table. And if they're even with a piece of paper with fold shove charts, I think that they should have a penalty or something, even if it's a tattoo. I just don't think it's part of the game. I think people should do their preparing and their studying and their strategizing away from the table, and then at the table you shuffle up and deal and you play. So I hate everything about what they did there. I would like to start a new campaign, a new hashtag, make poker tennis again. You said maybe I'm just old school, but just sit there and freaking play. Let me make it simpler, because obviously everyone knows what to do with aces. But what happens with the the conundrum that tournament players will find themselves in is they're down to 12 big blinds, and they're 2 off the button, and it's been folded to them, and they look down and they've got king 8. Do you fold there or do you shove all in there? One of those two is correct based on, well, ideally you'd like to be on or near the money and be able to input the pay table. But anyway, there's an optimal decision there. Just assuming nothing about the characteristics of your opponents behind you and in the blinds, there is a mathematically optimal answer there, and that is what these charts will give you, and that's what I believe was being generated on the rail for this guy.
What do you think realistically, though? I mean, because it can give. I don't even know how this stuff actually helps you. Okay, great. You're telling me what the optimal whatever is, but any one hand of poker or any one hand of blackjack or any one roll of the dice and craps, anything can happen. I mean, I would like what I would love to see is Stu Unger go up against a computer, because I'll bet you Stu Unger beats him all day long. Because as long as you're playing, well, maybe not against a computer, but against another human being, there are the intangibles that no computer can measure.
Now you're talking. The answer is it's a question what advantage it gives him. But the reason I object isn't really about the specific advantage. Is it just looks like garbage. It looks like cheating. It ruins the game by its very existence. But I attended a poker tournament years ago in Reno. I'm going to forget who set it up, but it was one of these. It was a guy like Doug Polk, a lesser version of that, who had an online following, and he must have trained anyway. But the field was just attended by all these young people, 20s, early 30s at the most, and they were just all about these shoving ranges. And as soon as I sat down and saw one of them play or heard one of them talk, I knew exactly what their playbook was. And you tell a guy like me your playbook, or you're just screwed.
Yep.
The most important thing you can ever do at the table is make sure they do not know what your strategy is. So if I know you're playing if I know you're playing GTO based on these charts, well, okay, I can level that.
Yeah. I'll just do the opposite, or I'll do the unexpected.
The question isn't, did this guy get a huge edge? Probably he didn't. Again, you've got to play more streets, and the whole thing about the main event at the World Series is you're playing pretty deep. Even at the final table there's lots of decision points. So playing a certain optimal strategy is like, okay, and then you still have to play. And again, if I'm the other guy, whatever his name was, and I'm seeing what's happening over there, I'm going to just file that away. Okay, I know what you're doing, and that's going to help me. Now that I know what your range is, that's going to help me a lot more than it's going to help you. But just from this makes poker crappy aspect, I'm not kidding. I would eliminate the gallery. I just hate all of that. And I'd eliminate all these electronic events. I wouldn't let you have your phone, let alone an earpiece. Because
I think for the final table.
For anything. I play by yourself, man. I mean, it's not only the New England Patriots that can put a guy on the other side of the room with a telephoto lens and grab information and transmit it to his buddy over an earpiece. People hold their cards. Even if you're, doing a classic, one of these, you could transmit information, and, anything that can get an edge, people will do. So no, I would just ban them all over. And I know that's not going to make it popular. And I also know the World Series people who operate it, I think it's still Caesars. They'll never do that. Because you know who wins third in every event? Caesars Corp. Caesars Corp takes third in every single event. That's the rake. That's what they charge. I mean, when you look at the number. So what they want is that record attendance you just talked about.
Well,
they want the most people showing up. So they don't really care about protecting the game. That's not the point. The point is to get as many registrants. And that's what they're going to base their decision on. But if you ask me, I'm a curmudgeon. I'd get rid of all that crap. You play by yourself, guy.
No, I agree.
Poker's not a team sport. And if it is, then it just sucks. I hate everything about it.
Those old final tables with Stu Unger, Doyle Brunson, Scotty Wynn, Eric Seidel, Johnny Chan, those old ones, man, where they were just playing from the gut. man, that was good poker. That was fun. Those guys had something special. These other guys, they just got technology. I mean, okay, well, that's great. That's not really. I
Of
don't know.
course, I have no proof for this, but the rumor, the scuttlebutt, is that when Stu Younger came back, like he won his first two back to back, and he was
Yep.
really good. But then he
In
was
the 81, I think, right? Or 82, 83, something like that. Or really when he was super young. Wasn't he just like 19 or 20 years old or something?
he was very young. I don't know what the age. There was probably minimums, with the casino. But anyway, when he came back
Oh,
and
yeah.
won
That's
his
true.
third, he owed a whole bunch of people money. He was strung out on drugs, and the scuttlebutt is he was wearing blue tinted contact
He
lenses,
was.
and they marked the decks. I don't know if
Oh,
that's
no.
true.
I don't believe that.
I don't know if that's true, but he was a shell of his former self. He used to be something else.
Yeah, but man, that final table that he played at Binny's, they played that one outdoors. I don't remember if you watched that one on TV. When Stu Unger won his comeback. The wind was blowing so bad, the
That's so
carts are
crazy.
like bubbling. And then I think he died of a drug overdose the next year. I mean, like
I
he
think it
had a
was,
bad life, but he was the Bobby Fischer of poker.
if
That's
I
what I'll say about
remember, it
Stu Unger.
was less than a year. And yeah, I think he was already out of money. He was still being backed for tournaments.
Oh,
'Cause
yeah,
I think all the money that he won, he owed,
yeah, of course. He
which is
was a
why
degenerate gambler, alcoholic, drug addict, but fuck, man, dude could play poker.
that was even his second best game, according to legend. He was really an exceptional gin player.
Right, gin was his game. Yeah. Just like a lot of those guys back then had other games. Like I think Eric Seidel was a backgammon player.
True.
Or I don't want to say things I'm misremembering, but anyway, Adam, man, I could talk about poker all day long. Super fun, World Series of Poker. Reason why we want to talk about a little bit. You've been writing some articles about it because let's chill it a little bit. Adam, folks, has just launched his poker coaching service. So again, heymannature.com, you can sign up for that if you want to just get better at your game. Like you don't have to have dreams of winning the World Series of Poker. You just like playing poker. Maybe you want to play a little bit better at your home game, or next time you're at your local casino or in Vegas, you just want to play a little bit better, have a little bit more fun, last a little bit longer, maybe rake a pot or two, and you just feel like, man, I could use a little help, a little coaching. Every one of us, I play golf. You go get golfing lessons once in a while, right? Well, why not spend a little bit of money, get some poker lessons from Adam, and enjoy the game a little bit more? We're not saying you have to become a professional, right, Adam?
I highly encourage that you do not. But yeah, you should. If you're going to do something, you should do it well, and I can definitely help with that. I encourage people to submit hands, so that we'll have something specific to talk about, as well as just general concepts. And you can figure out how to do that. Follow the instructions at heymannature.com or heymannature.substack.com. You'll see a link at the top. Make Adam your coach, something like that. I'm not going to turn you into the Unabomber, Phil Locke, but I will get you playing better. Oh, and by the way, as I say in the copy, it's your hour. If you want to yell at me about all my stupid ideas about epistemology, you can do that too. Anyway, this was fun. Tyrone, you look wonderful. You don't look goofy at all. Thank you for queuing up a reason to talk about poker. I love doing that. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for watching Human Nature. See you next time.
Mr. Heyman.